There. It began at my birthday dinner. A long table, white linen, silver cutlery, the illusion of family. Laughter hung in the air like perfume, manufactured, choking. Then, between the clinking glasses and polite toasts, my mother leaned toward my father, her voice barely a whisper. "While everyone's here," she said, "tell your son to go change the locks at her apartment." My brother froze mid-bite. My father nodded, as though sealing a contract. No one looked at me. He rose, silent, obedient, left without finishing his plate. The room carried on as if nothing happened. But my mother's fingers trembled when she lifted her glass. I kept smiling. 1 hour later, he returned, paler than the tablecloth. He leaned close to her ear and whispered, "Mom." There. His voice broke. That was the first time I saw fear crawl up his throat like poison. And I knew something was already rotting beneath our calm, perfect dinner. I didn't ask what he saw. I didn't need to. Because I saw her face tighten, then smooth again. Saw my mother's hand go rigid around her wine stem. Saw my father glance toward me once, then away, fast, like I was a mirror showing something he couldn't bear to look at. That was the moment something inside me went still. I didn't speak for the rest of the evening, didn't ask who her was, didn't ask what change the locks meant. But when people stop talking, they start listening, and I listened. Later that night, when the house finally fell silent, I went to my brother's room. He was sitting on the edge of his bed, shirt unbuttoned, staring at the floor. "What did you see?" I asked. He didn't look up, didn't answer. His fingers trembled. When he finally spoke, it was barely a sound. You should see it yourself." He slid his phone toward me. A single photo. My wife. In my apartment. Not our apartment. Mine. The one I lived in before marriage. She was sitting on my couch, wearing my mother's bracelet. And beside her, half turned away from the camera, unmistakable even in the blur, was my father. A low, controlled laugh escaped my throat. Not amusement. Containment. That was when I realized the human mind doesn't shatter when betrayed. It calcifies. The next morning, I kissed my wife's forehead. She smiled. Her skin smelled like roses and iron. "Happy birthday again," she murmured. I almost asked her if she had fun last night. Instead, I brushed a stray hair from her cheek and said, "I'll be home late." She didn't ask where I was going. She never did when she already knew. I began quietly. A pattern of absences, phone calls unanswered, receipts that didn't match her stories, a hotel key card in her purse. "It's just from a client," she said, laughing too lightly. I traced it to a name I knew too well. R.S., my father's initials. I didn't confront. I collected. Patience was my new language. DNA on a toothbrush, bank transfers, surveillance footage, all of it fitting together like the cruel geometry of truth. I even tested the strand of hair I found on the pillow beside my son's bed. It was brown, like mine, but not mine. The results arrived in an unmarked envelope 2 weeks later. My hands didn't shake, not even when I read it. Not my child. That night, my wife laughed in the kitchen. My father called. She answered before I could reach for the phone. "Hi, love," she whispered. She thought I couldn't hear. She was wrong. I went to the balcony, watched the city lights flicker like dying lies. Infidelity, false paternity, collusion. But this wasn't just betrayal. It was coordination, strategy, a slow poisoning dressed as love. They wanted control of the inheritance, of the legacy, of me. Erase me, replace me, inherit the silence. So I decided to weaponize it. Weeks later, I invited them all for dinner. Same restaurant, same table. The symmetry was deliberate. My mother arrived first, pearl earrings, immaculate composure. Then my father. Then her. I poured wine for everyone. My brother sat in silence, eyes down. He already knew. When the main course arrived, I slid a single folder across the table. No words, no preamble. She looked at it, hesitant. "What's this?" "Your birthday gift," I said. Her hand faltered. My father shifted uncomfortably. She opened the folder. DNA test, financial transfers, photographs, a timeline, precise, undeniable. She didn't make it past the second page. Her breath hitched, then vanished. My father's color drained. My mother just stared at her wine. "You knew," he said finally, voice cracking. I nodded once. From the start. The silence that followed wasn't absence. It was weight. He tried to speak. I raised a hand. "Don't," I said. Calm, flat. "You had your moment. I'm taking mine." She began to cry, quietly, almost respectfully. My father didn't move. His shame filled the room like smoke. I stood. "Congratulations," I said softly. "You both got what you wanted. The house, the fortune, the boy." Her lips parted. "Please," I cut her off. "He's your son, not mine. You'll raise him together. A perfect family, finally honest with each other." My brother's fork slipped from his hand. My mother closed her eyes. I looked at them all one last time, the architects of my ruin. Then I said it, quietly, like an executioner reading a sentence. I changed the locks. I walked out before anyone spoke. Outside, the air was cold, sharp, clean. I didn't go home. Home was a memory that had died weeks ago. I drove past the old apartment, the one she'd turned into her secret. Lights off, curtains drawn, a hollow shell of deceit. I parked, stepped out, and watched from the street. In the reflection of the window, I saw myself, empty, calm, complete. Some truths don't set you free. They strip you bare until there's nothing left to free. But in that nothingness, there's power. By morning, I'd vanished from their world. No calls, no trace. Just silence. They'd wake up knowing I had known everything, long before they thought they'd won. They'd look at each other and see their own reflection staring back, ruined and unblinking. That was my gift. Not revenge, just the truth, delivered cold. I don't dream anymore. I don't remember the sound of their voices. And when I pass mirrors, I see only one thing: the man who changed the locks first.